Hello everyone, Mr. Fusshead here, back with another geometry lesson. Today we're going to continue talking about those angle relationships we looked at in our previous video, the corresponding angles, the alternate interior, exterior, same side interior, exterior. But we're going to look at some more complicated diagrams. So again, we looked at some very basic diagrams in our last lesson, and today they're just going to be a lot less trivial. But again, they're a bit more fun to work with as well because they're not the same diagram over and over again. So in our first example, we are being asked to find the measurement of angle W. Now I'd pause the video right here, see if you can use any strategies, any tools that you've picked up before to try to find out what the measurement of that angle is. And also think about how you would explain that. So don't just make a guess, but be able to justify it using some sort of angle relationship. My hint is that you may need to draw another line on the paper somewhere to help you out. Okay, so again, my hint was that you may need to draw another line on the paper somewhere. We'll get to that in just a second. Two things I want to point out though. We know that these lines right here are parallel, or these rays rather, because they don't keep going. So those are parallel, so we do have a set of parallel lines, but we don't have a transversal that intersects both of those lines. So we don't have a line that intersects both at some point. We have this transversal that it's not a transversal, but it's, let me get my pen. We have a transversal that would eventually intersect this line down here, but it doesn't keep going. It changes direction on us. So it doesn't look like our traditional diagram where we have two lines that are parallel and one transversal. However, we can create something that looks like this. And what we're going to do is draw in an auxiliary line. We're going to draw in that auxiliary line right through this angle W. And we're going to make sure that this auxiliary line is parallel to both the top and the bottom line. So we've just created two different angles. We've broken W up into two angles. We're going to call those angle E and angle F. All right. So this is called an auxiliary line. And these are sometimes useful when solving for an unknown angle. This is a line that you draw in. It's not given in the original figure or diagram. So now we may be able to break the diagram up into two separate diagrams. So all we're going to do right now is we are going to focus on, let's use red and red. So we're going to focus on these two red parallel lines. And we have this blue transversal. So we're just going to focus on that diagram. And if we look at this one, right, we should notice that angle E, so this angle right here, has a relationship with this 35-degree angle up here, right? Those two angles are alternate interior. So how can we find the measurement of angle E? We're coming down here for B. Well, angle E is alternate interior with the 35-degree angle. So the measurement of angle E equals 35 degrees because alternate interior angles have to be congruent. Okay, so we found part of angle W. We know that top part is 35 degrees. Now let's focus on the bottom section. So let me erase some of this. I will keep that red line though. And I'm going to talk about, or I'm going to now look at this bottom parallel line. And my transversal changes, right? My transversal now becomes this line. So is there a relationship between angle F and the 41-degree angle? Is there a relationship between these two angles right here? And yes, there is. Same relationship as angle E and the 35-degree angle. Angle F is alternate interior with the 41-degree angle. And if alternate interior angles are congruent, right, well, that's going to tell us that the measurement of angle F equals 41 degrees. So we figured out angle E and angle F. Now, does that let us figure out angle W? Well, let's get rid of some of this so we again clear up our diagram a little bit. Okay, what's the relationship between angle E, angle F, and angle W? Well, this is the angle addition postulate. The measurement of angle E plus the measurement of angle F equals the measurement of angle W. Right? So in this case, angle E is equal to 35 degrees. I'm just choosing a different color here. Let's go with green. So we have 35 degrees plus 41 degrees equals the measurement of angle W. And then the measurement of angle W is going to be equal to 76 degrees. So when you first started out with this diagram, you may not have seen any angle relationships that were apparent. But as soon as we drew in this auxiliary line, and we had to make sure that it was parallel to the top line and the bottom line, then we had two different transversal diagrams, right? We had one up top here, we had one up here, and then we had one down below. And if we can split this angle W into two different angles, angle E and angle F, and find each of those angles individually, then we can find the entire angle using the angle addition postulate. So just, again, a little trick to use. If the diagram doesn't immediately provide you with an angle relationship, see if you can draw in some other parallel line. And this is going to be called an auxiliary line. So you've got some examples to do below. We will go over one more together. Let's clear this, and I'll tell you which one we're going to go over. We will go over, we're going to go over number 4. So you can work on all of them, but in the video we'll go over 4. So pause the video, take a shot at least number 4, and then come back and we'll have a discussion. All right, we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Our goal in number 4 is to find the measurement of angle A. So we see angle A here down at the bottom. Now, it's possible that the first thing you thought of was, well, I see angle 58 and I see angle A. And maybe those are, I don't know what letter that was. Maybe those are alternate interior, right? They seem to be on opposite sides of the transversal, and they are both inside the parallel lines. Well, the problem is this isn't actually a true transversal diagram, right? We would need to have another parallel line here. So we would have to have this line being parallel to the bottom one for us to say that 58 and A have the same measurement. But since 58 is actually formed by this line right here, right, this line is not parallel to the one on the bottom. So we're going to have to draw in our own auxiliary line here to figure out the measurement of angle A. But again, it's okay to play around with the diagram to think about what relationships you may have. If I'm going to draw in my auxiliary line, I want to draw it in parallel to the top line and the bottom line. And to be fair, I don't think I say anywhere that these are parallel unless it says it up above. But I'm going to tell you now that these lines right here line F and G are parallel, which means I want to draw in my auxiliary line parallel to both F and G. Okay, so all three of these lines are parallel. Now, I can split this 58-degree angle up into two, right? It's now being split into two parts. We don't know that both parts are congruent. We just know that both parts should add to 58. So let's work our way from top to bottom. I have this 28-degree angle here. Now, there is a relationship between this 28-degree angle and the top half of 58. And again, it may not be exactly half of 58, but the top part of the 58-degree angle. Well, those two angles right there are alternate interior, right? These two angles, alternate interior, which means that they are congruent, which means that this angle is also 28 degrees. Okay? Now, if the top half of 58, again, I keep saying the top half, if the top part of 58 is 28 degrees, well, the bottom part of 58 has to be whatever would make 28 equal to 58, right? If I'm adding something to 28, what do I have to add to 28 to get 58? Well, that's going to be 30 degrees. So the bottom part of that 58-degree angle is 30 degrees. Now, again, one way to check your work would be to make sure that both of those parts equal 58. If they equaled something less or more than 58, then you know you made a mistake somewhere. Let's look down at the bottom part of this now. I have these two angles right here. Again, these are familiar relationships now at this point, because these are both alternate interior again, which means angle A also must be equal to 30 degrees. So measurement of angle A, 30 degrees. All right, so again, the whole point of today's lesson was sometimes the diagram needs our input. Sometimes we need to draw in something extra to bring out the relationships that are there. They're just not apparent when you first look at the diagram. All right, so any lines that you draw, they're called auxiliary lines, and sometimes they can be very beneficial in showing you what relationships are actually present in the diagram. Okay, enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you for our next lesson.